He left the corporate world to open his own business. Then he went back to the corporate world. And guess what?
I need to do something that gives me my freedom back.
The easiest thing to do is to open your own business, right?
I wanted to start something, but unfortunately I got the Amazon offer.
So do you want to tell me that working for Amazon, it's easier than building your own business?
The scale is very attractive.
You don't have a business degree, right? So where did you get all the information from?
Experience comes in all shapes and forms. It doesn't have to be a corporate experience.
When did you start feeling that, okay, it's not doing well, time to maybe pack up?
When I broke my bone.
Do you need to have a lot of money before you start? Hi guys, welcome to my new episode, brandsthroughstories. I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting this channel, for subscribing, for watching us, for leaving your comments. This truly motivates us to create even better content. Thank you. These days I hear a lot of stories, people leaving corporate world and going to open their own businesses. Sometimes there are stories when people open their business, leave them and go back to the corporate world. My guest's story is even more exciting. He left the corporate world to open his own business. Then he went back to the corporate world. And guess what? He left it again to open a business again. Please welcome my guest today, Allan. Allan is an entrepreneur who is passionate for pursuing failure. He left Amazon 2 times, the first one to build his business in sport tourism, and then the second time to solve the challenge with car loans in Saudi Arabia. Allan, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you, super excited.
I know you flew all the way from Riyadh to join this podcast.
Of course, I was counting down the days.
Thanks a lot. When we were preparing, I have to be honest with you, when we were preparing with the team for this episode and we met with you virtually, we've read your story and that whole transition from Amazon to your business, from business back to Amazon and then back again to your own business. The first question we had in our head is, why? What's going on there? What's up?
No, that's a fair question. I think everyone feels the pains of being in corporate, and eventually, whether it's a big or small feeling, you get that feeling that there's more out there. And why going back? After the first business, I had to shut it down, take a break, and I didn't have enough energy for building a business. It's not just a business thing, it's an emotional and mental and physical thing to build a business. And if you're not ready for it, you cannot fake it. So I had to recognize that I needed to go and rest in a job until I'm ready to do this again.
So do you want to tell me that working for Amazon, it's easier than building your own business?
Yes. No matter what the job is, I've been thinking about this recently. You can always quit. It can all end with one email of resigning. And then you serve your notice. And the moment you resign, basically responsibility is off you. Building a business, even if you decide to shut it down, it's a long process. If you decide to sell it, it's a long process. If you want to build it, it's even a harder process. So there's no easy button you can click to just exit the business. And hours are not enough. You invest hours, but you really need to put your soul into it. And that takes a lot from the human.
I think the easiest thing to do is to open your own business, right? Now, literally, with one click, you can do it. Probably in Dubai, for sure, in Riyadh also.
Yeah.
But if you want to close it down,
it's a long process.
God forbid, very long process. It's so true. With your corporate life, when you left it the first time, I'm sure you were super excited, right? Believing in that dream of being entrepreneur and freedom. Did you feel that?
Yeah, what's funny is I've always felt that way. Even in university, in the 4th year, as we're getting close to graduate, I wanted to start something. But I did have no skills to actually start something. I've never done it before. I've only watched my dad do it. and it's a completely different business and time he's in. But unfortunately, I got the Amazon offer also in my last few weeks. So I had to, I discussed with my dad, and he said, go learn what you can and then use that to build your business.
Right. When the first time you left them and went to your own business and then decided to leave that business, and we'll talk about it, and go back to corporate, how did it feel? Did you feel like it was a failure, that you're going back to Big Brother or big corporation?
So the business failed. That's my assessment of it, because it could have been so much larger. We have our accomplishments and I have things to be proud of. And actually getting to failure is something we don't celebrate enough, because it means you reached the edge of your skill. If you had more skill, you wouldn't have failed there. So there's so much to learn on many different ways. So I celebrate it, whether it's business or at the gym. When you cannot lift the weight anymore, you've hit your failure. The next day you can be stronger. But no, I didn't look at it as, it's a difference failing, a project failing, and you feeling like a failure. I never felt like a failure. I felt proud that I achieved something or pursued something worth my time. And I wanted to do it again. I was excited to do it again.
Because I know I've seen some stories. It's very hard for a lot of people to admit that, okay, business is not doing well, I should go back to corporate. It's psychologically, for a lot of people, it's quite difficult, more admitting to yourself. But the way you look at it, it's amazing. Is it something that you got from your dad? Because I know you have a very inspiring story about your dad, you've mentioned is an inspiration for you.
Of course.
I would love to, if you could share a little bit.
Lovely, for sure. I mean, he's amazing. My mom also. And most of the privilege I've had to even be sitting here, to start a business, to go study outside, to work at Amazon, they take the credit to give me this opportunity. They're the ones who, before the internet, before things were easy, came to Dubai out of nowhere and built a life. So definitely. And yeah, I've seen him throughout the years open businesses, close businesses, take losses with a smile. It's part of the game for him. So mentally, I'm used to it. I know this is the game. You can't win it all. And if you're too scared to lose something, you'll never pursue something great. So you cannot have fear dictating your actions. It always has to be ambition.
So you've never been scared when it comes to taking risks in business?
What's the worst case gonna happen? I'm not gonna die.
Yeah.
What's the worst case? You close the business, you open a new one, you go back to a job. I have the skills to get a job anytime. So, not everyone has that privilege, but I don't feel the worst case is scary.
So what is, to finish the corporate topic, what is that thing now when you're, I would say, successful startup for sure? What is that skill that you will never, or not the skill, but in experience maybe, or thing that now as a co-founder of startup, you would never experience it again, what you had in Amazon? Is there something that that's it, that was only there, that great thing?
I think the scale is very attractive. The scale that you can do things when you're shipping thousands and millions of packages and you're impacting millions of customers. But I don't think that's not available in the startup. We are pursuing that. We want to get there. But at the first stages, you have to start very small. So I miss that. I miss having specialization. So there's a whole team for data, a whole team for engineering, a whole team for HR. So you really learn from the best people at those specific roles.
True.
Startups is more about generalization or being a generalist. So I do miss having very skilled people, only one chat away. And, their job is to help me, at my job.
So what was, when you first time left Amazon, started your own business? Tell us a little bit. How did you start it? When was that moment you said, okay, that's it, I'm leaving and I'm going to start my own venture? It was 7 years ago, right? In Dubai.
Yeah. I actually remember the night I decided to leave. And it was for a silly reason. It was not inspirational or anything like that. I was living in Vancouver at the time. and I was doing operational work, which is very long shifts, going to the warehouses, launching. We were launching warehouses there. And I remember my friends were visiting from another city, and they were staying the whole week, and I couldn't go out and enjoy the week because I have a boss and I have 100 people waiting for me at the shift, and I literally couldn't take a day off. I mean, you always could, but when you're responsible, you don't want to do that. You know, it will impact the business. So I wondered, why is it like this? Why can't I do the things I want to do? Okay, I need to leave. I need to do something that gives me my freedom back. And it took a month or two to do it. Like, I didn't, out of emotion, just drop everything and go. But mentally, I had decided. So it took a month or two, handed over everything, trained the next person. A very good relationship. That's why I was able to go back again after a few years. And if I need to, I can go back again. But this is how it happened.
So they're all waiting for you? They're still?
I mean, they're
maybe
not,
after this podcast, though.
No, they're not waiting, but Amazon is a very good business. They get the right people for the job. And when I'm not with them, I'm not sitting at home like playing video games. I'm achieving things and learning different skills. So actually, even when I came back the first time after 3 years of startup, I was able to get a much better role and salary because of what I did in those 3 years. So they're smart enough to recognize the experience comes in all shapes and forms. It doesn't have to be a corporate experience.
Right. So you prepared yourself, you left the company. And how did you come up with the idea for the new business, for your first business? What was?
I didn't. I'm really bad at this. I left not knowing what the business is going to be. I just wanted to start something. I always have this stupid desire to start businesses, but I'm not creative enough to find the ideas. And I find the way it happened actually is there was a tourism company, family friends, they were shutting down. And they were, you know, as we spoke earlier, it's expensive and time consuming to shut it down. So it becomes really cheap to just buy a trade license and operate. So I'm like, it's already here. Let me just try this new experience. I love travel. Let me try to build a business in travel.
Wasn't it a red flag for you when, you know, buying the license from the company that is?
Yeah, it's stupid, I think. It was very stupid because I like travel is different. I don't have experience in a travel business. There's 3,000 at the time travel companies in Dubai itself, the city, not even UAE.
Yeah.
Very competitive, very difficult business to be in. And yeah, I don't think it was very wise at that time to make that decision, but it worked out for the best.
And how was it? Because that was your first one. You don't have a business degree, right? So where did you get all the information from? How did you learn? Who was your mentor?
Good question. So I leaned on my dad a little bit, but then I realized that the advice he was giving me was from his experience which is a very different field, construction, and it's a bit not applicable to what I'm doing. So then I started looking at the people around me who are successful people in tourism and business and learning from them and benchmarking against them. And I love to read books. So I've already read, all the famous people we know about, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. At that time, I had read all these books. So I tried to do what they do, but I didn't really have a good structure of doing it.
Right.
So I just pursued trying to make more money every week.
Is that what that was the motivation?
I think it was part of the motivation, yeah. I think the good thing in business, the game of business, the score is how much you make. So it's really easy to do better. You just need to make more money.
So what do you think were, 2-3 main mistakes that you've done with your first business?
Yeah, I can give you 15 if you want, but
let's do. Let's choose really 3 main things that you think.
Okay. First mistake was looking at similar companies to learn best practices.
From the same industry.
Yes, because it limited my own mentality, because I always do things the Allan way, and it's weird at first, but it works better because it's my way. And I know how to do my way better than anyone. And it combines what I learned in Amazon, scaling, reporting, very intense mentorship and development of the people, rather than focusing on the business itself.
Right.
That's the first thing. And what I'm doing differently now is not learning from the people in the same field. So we're in the fintech field right now in the new startup, but we're looking at the good businessmen, not the good fintech companies.
At the individuals.
Yes.
Right.
How they can build a company and operate and scale it.
Right.
So I would say that's the first one. Second one is an ego problem. I did it alone.
Mm-hmm.
I was a solo co-founder.
Mm-hmm.
I did not have any investors. I made all the decisions myself. And while that allowed me to go a bit faster than others, but I think now having a shout out to my co-founder, Ali, in my new startup, having a co-founder to just share the decisions, to just bounce off each other, just correct you, motivate you when you're not on top of your game, it's invaluable. Really, it's making all the difference right now. So that's the second thing. And also adding to that, having a community. So aside from the co-founder in the company, I'm now building with a community of people that started at the same time through the Antler program. We can talk about it more later. So I'm building with 10 other companies. We live together in Riyadh. We work together. We had the same challenges. So it's different going through something with a group of people. I love it so far.
Yeah, I think it's different because I've started my business 20 years ago on my own, here on my own, with my own ego, no community. I don't think that even the word existed, but the concept never existed. We
Agreed.
were all competitors.
Yeah.
All competitors fighting for the same customers. And in that business was your data actually was the main thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there were dirty things happening. People used to steal each other's data. And data that time was in Excel.
Okay.
On the computer in Excel. Your database basically of people. So,
amazing.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, it's a different world today for the entrepreneurs.
It's different. And how is your community now? Is this something you have a better community now? Do you have people to bounce off ideas, or how's it looking?
So if I think about the industry today, where one of my companies in, which is marketing,
Mm-hmm.
I think in Dubai with the saturation of, it's a red ocean today. I think the community of marketeers is killing their own industry. Literally, they're killing their own industry by, dumping the prices, over-promising and so on. So that community I'm trying to stay away from.
Makes sense.
However, of course, thank God we live in the time where there's so many clubs, business clubs now, and conferences and the networking events so I get that support from the other side. But for me also, as an entrepreneur for over 20 years, I think my family is one of the most important organism, the body that supports me. And I have entrepreneurs in my family as my husband, my sister, her husband, and so on. So the family really, that would support, that really my backbone.
That's a really good point, and I agree. Both families, mine and my partners, they're both entrepreneurs, so they get it. It's different trying to convince people why you left a job to do something uncertain and unknown, but they both get it, and they both motivate me and encourage me to continue at it.
And I think what you've mentioned also when I asked you about your dad, you started with your mom, right?
Mm-hmm.
You start with your mom and with your family. And I think this is what makes it different for us entrepreneurs when we have a very strong family support. Even if my parents are not entrepreneurs.
Okay.
I'm coming from the, communism background. There wasn't a word like that.
It's a new concept.
Yeah, it was everything. But I always knew that if something goes wrong, I have a home. I have two people that love me so much that I can go back and they'll support me. So I wasn't scared with my first business even. So I have a feeling you have the same.
Honestly, it's a big privilege, and I know a lot of people don't have it, so I recognize this is a privilege. But even my partner, who I've met just a year ago, her father, usually you want, you know, to encourage stability and stuff, but he gets it. He's an entrepreneur. He encourages me to chase my dream. So I want to give him a very big shout out and thank you.
But even when parents are not entrepreneurs, my mom, she's an economist, right? So she's in finance. What I've noticed when I have ideas now, I actually discuss it with her because she gives me a completely different view on that.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing because from entrepreneurs you sort of know what the answer is, more or less.
True.
But here it's a completely different thing. It's a different view.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess you can get that feedback from them.
And that's what I tell my team. Share with your parents. Tell your parents. Get them excited also about what you do. It's a huge support when you have your family supporting you and being behind you.
100%.
Now, maybe I talk like an old lady now. I've started noticing the age.
No, I think this is experience and wisdom.
Wisdom, exactly.
But if I want to add just one more thing
Yeah.
before we move on, to all the parents listening and watching this, I know it's uncertain and the path of a school and a job seems more exciting, but there's nothing that will compare to the learnings of trying to build something, even if it's on the side. Small business, having your kids sell something, I think it creates character, it builds character that no corporate can give you. So I hope you can encourage and give them that space to explore building.
I have goosebumps. I'm thinking straight away about my kids. You know, since I had them, I had this motivation. I need to build this for them, so they have, financial stability and so on. Until I saw some podcasts where they said the worst thing you could do is create a financial stability for your kids.
Interesting.
Then you take away all the fun they could have through their life. Give them good education and the wings to explore and support. Yeah.
Agreed.
So first business, when did you start feeling that, okay, it's not doing well, time to maybe pack up? How was that? When did you think, that's it, no more trying?
When I broke my bone. So I literally had to break. I had an injury playing football. It's funny because my business was sending people to watch football. It was sports tourism. So sports or football started the business and football ended the business. So I had a bad injury, was on a wheelchair for a bit, needed to operate on it, and won't go into the details, but I track my business daily and weekly, so I started seeing it dip and dip. And my health is also at the bottom, so I had to pick one. Like, okay, I'm gonna try to do the right thing and choose my health, because for the last while I was prioritizing the business, and this is what led me to get here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, you're prioritizing your health?
Yes, I think health is the startup before the startup. So I think without it, you cannot build something big and sustainable and ambitious.
When we first spoke, you said health is the best investment you can do in your own business. And I realized that I gave birth to 2 kids with laptop on my lap.
Wow.
And that time I felt it was cool and brave and so on. Today I think it was so silly.
That's rough.
Why did I do that? Why did I? And I'm sure if I put it away for a couple of days, nothing would have happened. And health is something that I know here it's important, but what do? Still neglect it.
Agreed.
How do you deal with that important investment, that important resource that we have? What do you do?
So I make mistakes too. I sometimes crave the chocolates, and sometimes I skip the gym like yesterday. So I agree. We all know it's important, but it's not enough to know. You get evaluated by what you do. There's nothing more available than people with unfulfilled potential that know more than me, but they're not doing anything about it. So I think it's important to take action. And the moment you get that thought, health is better, take even the smallest action, whether it's a push-up or drinking, hydrating properly, or just taking space for your head to rest, is to take those small actions that compound and build habits. Small actions build habits, build lifestyle.
So how do you take the space for your head, for your mind?
So I've been very lucky to do 2-in-1. When I go to the gym, I try not to listen. Sometimes I listen to podcasts and educational stuff, but I try at least once a week to not have my headphones, take a very slow workout, and use it to actually let my brain de-stress from everything. Of course, meditation is ideal, and we all do it in different ways. So I do it at the gym.
Oh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. When I have the music, when I have music very loud, that's when my brain switched off. At least my thoughts, they stop. How do you motivate yourself every day? That's nothing like, I'm sure there are days when you don't want to think, I have to do it again. That's how I feel these days, to be honest. Tomorrow is my last working day and I can't wait for it to finish.
Interesting.
I love my job though. I love my company. I love what I do. Just the disclaimer and all my clients. Not true. What do you do?
I get it. I don't have motivation every day. I do it. I try not to let motivation be the prerequisite for action. I don't need to be motivated to do what I need to do. I need to get to work. And sometimes getting to work is just preparing your stuff, getting your coffee, sitting in front of the laptop. And I have a small timer with me. I carry it in my bag. Actually, I can show you after. It has 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 60 minutes. So when I cannot get any work done, I turn off my phone and aim to do 5 minutes of work only. And I put the timer. It rings and you see the 5
minutes. Yeah. And
that's
then?
it. And most of the time, 5 minutes will finish. I'll go to 10, 15. And at least half the time, it will drag into a proper work day.
Wow.
So again, small action builds the habit, and the habit creates the lifestyle.
Were you always like this? You seem like very disciplined and organized.
No. No. In high school, I thought I was smart because I didn't need to work hard and I got good grades. That's the most dangerous thing you can think. If you think you're special or smart, you give up on a lot of things. And then I got to a really good university, really difficult one. I chose it because it was the most difficult, because I would learn the most.
Mm-hmm.
Then within the first term, I failed one of the courses, calculus. I had to repeat it 3 or 4 times. And I realized I'm not smart at all. I met smart people. They are, like, you can tell a smart person. So I had to learn to work hard because I wasn't, competing with them. And then I thought I knew how to work hard, and I got to Amazon and I saw people who were both smarter and more hardworking. So I knew this wasn't even enough. I need discipline. I need, to do it all. I need to work outside the box, put in the hours, and just not give myself any chance to do better, which is do everything you can. And most of the times when I tried everything that I could, things worked out.
Mm. And I think especially your the last venture that you're in now, right? You were part of the program Antler.
Yeah.
Where the interesting thing that there were more than 8,000 applicants. So Antler is a program that is an incubator, right? Accelerator for startups.
Yeah, they're the world's largest day zero investor. So before, incubators are usually when the company starts. They like to start even before with the people and the founders.
Yeah. So there was a Riyadh chapter to the Colo program.
Exactly.
There were 8,000 people who wanted to get, and only 80, right, were chosen. And you were one of them. And then from those 80, 25 were chosen to
get the investment.
The investment. Right. So I would like to know the secret. I would like to know what is that thing that convinced them to take you out of 8,000 and shortlist you in that 80 people. What do you think?
I would love to hear that from them as well. But I think it's not personal. I think they're investors. They have a business to run. They know the components that create success. They can see it in people. And one of them that's easy to know, it's usually not first-time founders, it's second or third-time founders they back.
Right.
And this is their business model. Doesn't mean that you cannot succeed as a first time. This is what they do. They look for deep expertise in different areas and companies. So probably my background in Amazon helped. And they look for, I don't know, people who are driven. Like they in the interviews, actually, they don't ask a lot about what idea you want to start. They ask about the challenges you've overcome, the failures you've had, how you perceive it. They look for mentality before idea.
Interesting.
And they believe in teams. They invest in the team also before the idea.
Right.
So they think the right teams. Anyway, the ideas will change. This is almost certain. You've done business before. First one compared to the second. And the second compared to 5 years ago to now, things change. So they know that as well. But a good team will succeed in the long run.
So if I were to step back a little bit, so you went back to Amazon and then again, very good position. You had more than 100 people under you, right? If it's, when was that moment? Okay, no, it's time to go back again to the business.
This was a bit more strategic, unlike the first time. So I knew I needed to have a runway financially. So what I was doing is I was investing most of my income. Like I don't need a lot. I just need a Wi-Fi connection and a gym membership, and I'm very happy. Like I am not.
That's why you are not stressed about leaving there, going.
Yeah,
internet is free in most of the places.
Yeah, right now that's amazing.
Done.
I love Wi-Fi. So I knew I wanted to leave eventually and start something. So I calculated how much money I need to feel comfortable for a few years, and I invested most of my income, and I divided that into real estate, stocks, and cryptocurrency. And I advise everyone to invest in all three every month. This is the best way. You don't need to think about the market and buy and sell. Just invest every month. And in years, you will have enough, a small fortune.
So, and then did you get an idea to go into the car loan?
No, again.
How was it? You didn't have an idea?
No. I just knew I needed to start something. So I left. I took a few months off traveling solo. I went to Europe, met my friends, Turkey. I went solo to Madeira, Portugal, which is one of the most amazing islands out there. And it's a bit underappreciated still. And then I came back and started working on ideas. The initial phase of ideas is validation. You need to really find the problem first before you think about the solution. And in my research, I came across Antler. They actually reached out to me for Antler Canada, but I was in Dubai. So I learned about them and realized they're happening in Riyadh soon. And I applied. And in that cohort, I came across many different ideas. And this was one of them. The credit for the idea goes to Ali, my co-founder. He's been deeply thinking about it for a while. He understands the space very well. And he's done 2 past fintech startups also in a similar space. So the idea was all from him.
So it's an unusual start, I would say, for startup co-founders. Usually, like the classical story, I had an idea, I was dreaming about it all my life, right? And then I've started it and I failed and then I started it again. With you wanted the business, but you didn't have an idea.
Correct.
But you had such skills that attracted that program, right, to take. And you've mentioned to me that you were put together. So the program, as I understood, just to give a background, you all meet there and then you are arranged into the groups to be co-founders of the idea. Is that the right?
Correct. They bring everyone together. They have an intense program where they give you the startup, some of the startup education, but you're left to organize on your own. So you're supposed to find a partner and officially create a team and then start presenting your progress every week. From week 1 till week 4 or 5, you already form the teams, and then you have a few weeks to actually pitch to the investors and like create a business within a few weeks.
Right. So you've mentioned to me that it was something with your first found you've matched with somebody else, and then you decided to break.
Yes.
Tell us the story. What was the idea, if possible? Why did you break up?
Sure. And I mean, we can definitely talk about that. So the idea, again, very talented individual. Shout out to Amshan. He's an ex-Talabat founder, really understands the marketplaces and the food tech and the food delivery. And he identified a really good problem he wants to solve. We discussed it. I was very attracted to it. We decided to work together, and we did for a few weeks. And he's a very organized person like me. We had weekly sessions of founder feedback. We would meet, say, hey, Nina, you did this, I appreciate it. And this, I would like you start, stop, continue. One thing to start, one thing to stop, one thing to continue. And we just decided that although we're good friends, and we're good friends now, we cannot be co-founders for the next 5 years. And
why? What was that? What was that feeling? What is it? I don't want to know the problems you have, but what was that thing? No, was it you kept as friends?
Yeah.
Or what was that thing that you felt no?
I think our working styles, if I were to put it in one thing, our working styles were different. So something that I would do, like in comparison to that, my current team, you don't feel like it's a working session. You just go and do your work together. With the first founder, our working styles were very different, and our communication styles. And I think those two things need to be aligned, because even if they're 60% aligned, it might be enough for a month or two. I could have worked with them on a small project, definitely. And in the future, I know we will collaborate potentially on something. But as a co-founder trying to start a unicorn or $100 million business, you're thinking 5 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So it's like meeting someone for a date. You can have a good date or two, but doesn't mean you have to marry that person or you can marry. So you need to think about the marriage. And this was both our mentality in the topic.
Yeah. I've learned the hard way in terms of the business partners.
Yeah. What was the biggest lesson you want to share?
The biggest lesson is when you don't feel it's right, run away.
Okay.
Don't force yourself. I think that
don't force it.
Don't force it.
That's a good one.
I think the biggest lesson, to be honest, less emotions, more business. But I think maybe as a woman, I'm still putting a lot of emotions in all my business. Really, every second thing is emotional. And maybe that's why I keep on going into the creative industry where we're all emotional.
And that works for you?
But I think it's very important to find the right partner, and very important. And then to lay down the conditions of how you're gonna work, what it means, how you exit, right? Because at the beginning it's all exciting. It feels like, wow, it's gonna, like in marriage probably.
Agreed. And there's one thing also as part of the program they really encourage us to do is something called the 50 founder questions. And it's a document that has 50 questions. And you're right. Usually you're excited about starting a business and things, and you don't think about the small details like, are we going to work weekends? What is my conflict style? What parts of the business I hate and I don't want to do? What parts excite me? There's a small details that if it wasn't for the 50 founder, how much money are we going to make? Are we going to take a salary or not? When are we going to sell the business? Things like that we don't often discuss in the first date, let's say. But part of the Antler program, we did that, and it helps a lot bring those conversations from the next few years and have them all right now. And you know what? You could be perfectly aligned and it still couldn't work out.
Yeah.
But when you do it, at least you will be able to speed things up. From 30% success rate, it'll go to 50. You can never be 100% sure.
So what was the most difficult for your question to answer?
I think the trickiest one is what's your monthly burn rate, which means how much money do you expense every month? Because it's there's a lot of financial questions.
If I ever told that what is my monthly rate, no one would want to marry me in the business sense.
Yeah, and it's important because you could be doing 1,000, there's people that were less than $1,000 a month, and there were people more than 10,000 a month. So it's good to know what to partner, because you're depleting the same resource, which is your company equity or your company cash flow. So very interesting, very nice. Whether you join the program or not, I always recommend going through the 50 questions, both in business and in marriage. There's a book called The 8 Dates.
Yeah.
That's exactly like that. It's 8 dates. Each of them has a bunch of questions, and you go through it before deciding to marry someone. And yeah.
Can you do it after 21 years of marriage?
Of course.
Or it's better not to go there anymore?
No. So it's not like a check, but it will help you have these conversations in advance and see if there's things you cannot align on and things you can compromise on. And they say that 50% of conflict or disagreements between couples are actually things that will never change. They will stay the whole relationship. You just have to accept them and live with them. Yeah,
very interesting. I'm thinking maybe it's a good. I will have a look at that book just to see. Riyadh and Saudi Arabia. I have to ask about Saudi Arabia because for us business people here who's been building business for many years, Saudi Arabia is the new dreamland.
Definitely.
How is it? What is the business environment there for startups? How amazing, enthusiastic, or hard it is?
I've only spent 2 months there, but I decided to move there to start the business. Both me and my co-founder were located in Dubai. And we both consciously decided to move to Riyadh to start the business. So it wasn't by luck. It was very intentional, because we think the way they are encouraging startups and the energy you get being there is very similar to, maybe a few years ago here in Dubai.
Right.
The market is maturing and developing very quickly. And obviously the size, it's a 3 or 4 times bigger market, both in population. They have a very young workforce. The phone penetration technology is very high. All these components make it a really nice, fertile area to go and build something. Can you succeed anywhere? Yes. The biggest Calo, one of the most successful companies out there, it started in Bahrain, which is a very small area. Actually, they started in, I'm not sure, but they're a Bahraini company initially. So you can succeed anywhere. But yeah, we're taking the bet on Riyadh right now.
Do you need to speak Arabic?
It helps. You need it more than you. So in UAE, you can get away with just English. It's getting there. It's definitely getting there. We had people in the program that don't speak Arabic, and some of them learned a little bit, and the others you manage. English is a universal language. You will be fine eventually.
There's one thing I regret. Probably one thing only I regret in my life is that I had all the chance to learn Arabic 28 years ago here, and I didn't use that chance. And when I wanted to learn it, no one wanted to talk to me in Arabic, because that's it. We moved to the new world where everyone in Dubai speaks English now.
Yeah, I think.
So probably Riyadh would be a great incubator for Arabic.
Definitely,
right?
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of the skills there, so Arabic is probably no problem. I'm sure it's a great thing to do to have. Now, in terms of other skills compared to Dubai, what else do you need to have? What else would help you there?
I think it's very similar. So me moving there, it was the first time I lived there, and I adapted within days. I felt like I'm back here. Maybe it's not like Dubai, but I would say more like the other Emirates, because they're developing very fast, while Dubai went through that in the 2000 to 2010. But in terms of the vibe, the type of people, the restaurants, the food, the brands you see is very similar to here.
Right.
So it's not like going to a random island in the middle of nowhere. It's a 2-hour flight, and there's like a dozen flights every day. So it's very mobile to be between them. A lot of the people work here. I know personally someone that works here, works in Riyadh and lives here, more than one person. Eventually they end up moving, but it's not too far.
I've noticed from my experience seeing people doing business in Europe or in America, I haven't had business in Europe, but the difference here is that you build the relationship before you build the business. Investors, Saudi investors, they have all the time in the world. They're not in a hurry. They build first, they want to see the trust before they actually invest in you. And sometimes I think they want to see the relationship even more important than the idea itself.
True.
So, and they take their time.
You're right, actually. We did observe that. Even before starting the business, we started building relationships. What I can tell is people are very open there and excited because the builders are still there. You know, the companies haven't matured. So even people, we've been able to sit down in you know, conversations and rooms with banks, with very big marketplaces. And I think those things, even though UAE is smaller, it's a lot harder to do that here. But there, they just built it 6 years ago, and you're building something, so the synergies are there, and relationships are so important. It's less transactional than North America, and more relationship. Yeah, you're here to build in our country. You're here to, you know, invest in us, and we want to help you. Like, we get that a lot. We get literal words. How can we help you?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So how do you help them? Tell me a little bit about MFlex. What is the deal? How are you helping the country?
So right now, getting car loans in Saudi is a bit of a process. 92% of them take 7 to 10 days to close, business days, so almost 2 weeks. And Saudi has evolved a lot in terms of the technology and the open banking and the infrastructure that we deeply believe that we can close that gap and bring it down to under 90 minutes. That's the problem we're focusing on.
Wow. You're going to be the first movers?
So I'm sure there's a lot of smart people working on this problem. I'm sure we've met people that have the potential to solve this. But that, you know, that's the name of the game. Many people could be doing the same thing. And we'll see who can do it better.
So comparing, I wish you a lot of success with that. And after this interview, I can see that I'm sure you are already, right, achieving it. So hopefully, fingers crossed, you're gonna, you know, raise the money you wanted to raise, and just gonna go upwards.
Appreciate it.
Let's just compare two things. Your first business with the business today. What would be 3 main things that you've learned or would say, okay, if you want to start the business today, do it this way. Let's say in this part of the world.
Number 1, technology. It's the secret unlock, not a secret, but it's the way to unlock and go from 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 very quickly within a year. If you don't have tech powering your business somehow, it's just going to be linear scaling, not exponential. Right. So you'll get the line instead of the curve. So this is why we're in tech. Number 2, the community, which extends not just to your co-founder and the team internally, but the people around you going through the same journey, and includes mentorship as well. Both ways, get mentors and mentor. So those are the 2 things I would focus on. And 3 is very intense reporting. Report out, even if you don't have investors. Even my last business, right? I had a weekly summary of all our sales, how much we didn't sell, our social media. It was a few pages long. I would go to the office, write it up, send it to my family and friends. It's a good practice to keep you accountable and keep you understanding the progress of what works and doesn't work, rather than waiting to the end of the month or quarter or year to make adjustments. So be very diligent on reporting, especially the bad news.
Yeah. What about, do you need to have a lot of money before you start?
No.
No? No. I think you do. I think you do for your life, you know. I think you'd be ready to fail.
Yeah, you mean personal money or capital?
Personal, sorry.
I thought you meant capital.
No. Sorry, personal, yeah.
Yeah, so you need to have a runway, and it's not just for the obvious reason that you need to eat, sleep, but psychologically, you will not be able to perform at 110% if you're in survival mode.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to be able to, especially if you're something creative like yourself, you cannot be thinking, how am I going to pay the bill tomorrow, and be super creative for a client, a huge client, an airline or something. So I think psychological safety is important. And unfortunately, in our day and age, that means money.
Yeah, the reason I asked this question is because I saw sad stories of people, selling things there and coming here with this dream of, finding investors and create their companies. And then 1 year, second year, and nothing happens. So you're absolutely right. I agree. Survival mode is the worst thing that you can have for your startup or your business.
Agreed. And I would advise them not to look for investors, but look for problems. Once you solve problems, the money will come. Find real problems that you care about, fall in love with the problem, and solve it. The really good problems, like the car loan in Saudi, even if you 50% solve it, you're talking about millions and millions and millions. So find the problem and solve it, and the investors will come to you. They'll find you on LinkedIn, build in public, post about what you're doing. They will find you. That's their job.
Do you build your personal brand now? Do you work a lot on your personal brand?
I don't work enough. I think most people underinvest in it. So I appreciate that it's something you actively advocate for and build on. And I think I need to do a better job at it because, as simple as just sharing what I'm doing, this is what I think of it. Documenting publicly. This is how I want to approach it so it becomes easier.
Yeah, I'm propagating it, but I'm not good at that, to be honest.
Really?
But this is my 2025 resolution.
Same.
I'm going to really work hard, and I think it's super important today.
So what's one thing, it's my resolution too, what's one thing we should aim to do in 2025 in personal brand? Like for me, it's posting at least once a week, let's say on LinkedIn. What is something you want to commit to online?
I want to have a proper strategy, and I want this channel to really grow. I think it's time for this channel to really push, to take it not more seriously. I'm taking it seriously, but really push it. And from what I would love to see in 2025 from the personal brands is people using less AI to write their content and more real content, because now it seems like everyone is thrilled to redefine the industry and foster the relationships, right? So I wish because everyone became, I love this phrase from the lawyer, the previous guest I had. He said, have you noticed before we used to be happy, now we're all thrilled.
Yes.
So I'd like to see real content rather than this.
I love it. I also am actively using AI less and trying to write everything on my own. And I think it's becoming obvious who's using it and not.
Yeah.
And yeah, I completely agree with you.
Last question. If you could have one superpower today in your role, what would that power be? What would you like?
Reading minds.
Oh, I think it's possible soon. It's going to be soon very possible.
So. I think Elon Musk is working very hard on it, and he's been able to do it to some monkeys.
Really? I didn't read about it.
Yeah, just YouTube Neuralink experiment, and you will see how the monkey is controlling the mouse on the screen with their mind.
Oh, wow. Maybe it's better not to know that.
Yes, agreed.
Sleep better. Thank you so much, Allan. I really enjoyed it. That was like a lecture for me. Now I need to go back and write down notes, because it seems like, okay, I don't do this. This I don't do. This I do, but should be better. So it was a great, great conversation. Thank you.
I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the chance to be able to come on your podcast and get to know you. Also, a very nice personality, and I wish you all the success in your business and the podcast. I think you're doing all the right things, and looking forward to see your success.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect.
Oh, love it. Thank you. Thank you, Angel.
All right.